Come one, come all, it is time to crown the best of the best. 92 books have competed for this moment. There was good, there was bad, but today we recognize the great. It has all come down to this. So what books will get the highest honor of being on a small booktube channel's top 10 list? Let's find out. Hi, my name is Sarah Freshly and welcome back to Freshly Read Books. Also, real quick, apologies if my voice sounds a little different. I've had a cold for the past week. I'm like past it at this point, but I still have a little bit of congestion going on. Anyways, very exciting video today because we finally get to talk about my favorite books of the year. I feel like I'm a little bit behind. I've seen so many favorites videos already and I've been slacking. I've been procrastinating. But I had such a hard time because I read so many great books this year. Like, it was a lot easier to come up with my least favorite books of the year list, which is next week's video, so don't worry about that now. But I didn't even realize like how hard this was gonna be until I was going back through my list for the year to prep for this video and realizing just how many great books I read. But let's just get into it. We're going from 10th to first place with a little break in there to talk about some honorable mentions that I couldn't not talk about. Also, all of these books have been discussed in other videos, so instead of me saying, actually, I've talked about this already in another video, blah 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 blah, I'm instead going to be just telling you here now. So it'll be any video that I have of talking about one of the books that's in this video, I'm going to link in the description. So if you want to hear more about a specific book, just head to the description and I have another video on it that goes a little bit more in depth. And also, like, some of them have videos that are just fully dedicated to that specific book. So I go a lot more into depth, obviously, in those. Anyways, in 10th place, we have Scarborough by Catherine Hernandez. So early this year, I did a video reading all of the finalists for the Canada Reads Prize, and this was my favorite of the list. Although it didn't win, but that's okay, I'm totally cool with it. No, it's actually, it's okay, because the real winner, Five Little Indians, was a fantastic book, so totally deserving of the title. But my personal favorite was Scarborough. So Scarborough centers on a low-income neighborhood of the same name that is east of Toronto. This book has like a bunch of different POVs that make up the chapters, including a few adults, but also 3 different children. And by getting both sides of the perspective age-wise, you can see what these adults deal with and what the children are like discovering that they're going to have to deal with throughout life. It's both heartbreaking, but also heartwarming. And the community can be like nice and giving at times, but then just ruthless at others. So it's not a story that sugarcoats these lives in this neighborhood, but it still shows where there is that sweetness. And then in 9th place is Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. This is my 3rd Anthony Doerr book after All the Light We Cannot See and About Grace, and this is one of my favorites of his. I think this book hits a soft spot in a lot of the hearts of its readers because it seems so directed at people that love to read. It spans past, present, future, and bounces back and forth between them, following children / teenagers and what their lives are like. Each of the stories is unique, but they're all connected by a separate story, so like a story within a story, that they all discover in their own lives. And each of them plays a part in keeping that story alive. And that story is focused on Cloud Cuckoo Land, which is where the name of the book comes from. And so as much as these kids are helping this story about Cloud Cuckoo Land stay alive, the story is also impacting their own lives in a way. So it's really this give and take, but at different points in time. It's told really well, especially for the complex structure for the story. And also you get to read like what the story within the story is. So sometimes you'll get little pieces of that as well. In 8th place is Tomb of Sand by Geetanjali Shri and translated by Daisy Rockwell. Finally, a book that I still own. A lot of my books I've given away to other people to read, and also I've been trying to read more library books this year, so some of them I never owned in the first place. But this one I do own and love. This was the winner of the International Booker Prize this year, and it's about a grandmother that has recently lost her husband and goes through this sort of rebirth where she is bedridden for some time and then starts to regain her normal abilities and is able to go on this trip to Pakistan, which is where she was as a teenager during partition. This book is written beautifully, even as a translated work, which I only say that way because Shri intended this to be like a love letter to the Hindi language, and you can definitely get a sense for that, but I'm sure that it would mean so much more funnier when read in Hindi, and especially if you are somebody that grew up speaking Hindi and have it as your first language. Up next in 7th place is Radicalized by Cory Doctorow. This hit quite a few sweet spots for me. Light sci-fi, lightly futuristic, short stories, and they all said something about like the current state of the world despite being set slightly in the future. So this was just 4 short stories. Each of these little icons represents one of them. My favorite was Unauthorized Bread, but really I think all 4 of them were wonderful and I still think about them like all the time. The amount that I think about this book should probably have it higher up on this list, but I also really loved the other books on this list, so I just think about this one like a lot. And now in 6th place we Trust. No wait, sorry, what was that? Oh, in 6th place is Trust, the book by Hernan Diaz. That was a lot funnier in my mind. I'm gonna keep it in anyway. Trust is also an incredible book. Obviously, that's what this whole list is. And it's one that I read because of Booker, but let's be real, it did not need Booker to make a name for itself since it was already getting quite a bit of attention beforehand. But I do still think that it should have been shortlisted. Like, it didn't need that notoriety, but like, I felt like it deserved it. I was a little sad that it wasn't on the short list. This was the only one from the like regular Booker 2022 that I have on this top 10 list at all this year. Now I know what you're thinking. Sarah, this was your 4th place book when you ranked all of the Booker long list. And yeah, I know. But it's weird that you know, because I had to go back and check. But I'm just gonna say that this was a testament to like how much this book has stuck with me. So Trust is about a couple in the 1920s that are very successful in the stock market and continue to be successful through the crash in 1929. But you hear this story about this couple in multiple different ways, getting different viewpoints, which kind of leads you to doubt who you can actually trust in this story. And we've already talked about, I love a unique book structure, especially one that's done as well as this one was. Next in 5th place, which is the first book that I read this year, that was The Bone People by Carrie Hulme, who sadly passed away in 2022. This novel won the Booker Prize in 1985 and is set in New Zealand with an unlikely sort of like family unit, including Carowyn, who is half Maori, half European, and she really like prefers being alone. Then there's Simon, who is a young European boy that doesn't speak at all and wound up on the island after a boat crash. And then there's Joe, who is full Maori, who has taken Simon in and is kind of like acting as this father figure, but then also develops a relationship with Carowyn. Not a relationship, like not a romantic relationship, but just like in the more pure sense of the word, just like a relationship. So the beauty of this book really comes from the melding of cultures that it shows, but then also the points where it has the Maori culture on display in more of a pure setting. Through this lens and also others, you get this feel for how each of the main characters relate to each other and how that differs from like the other relationships in the books. So it's really unique, you know, Carowyn's relationship with Simon versus Carowyn's relationship with Joe, and so on. And I think that that just showed how wonderful Hulme was at creating characters. They were so well written. But I do think that I would have gotten more out of this book if I understood the culture a little better. And then in 4th place, we have another Booker winner. I'm now realizing just how many winners are on this list, and Booker books in general, but I guess it makes sense. Like, I read a lot of Booker. This is the 1989 winner, The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. This book was wonderful in its like quiet simplicity. It's about a man that has been a butler his whole life and is encouraged to like take a break and go on kind of like a road trip. And during this trip, he recounts his time as a butler, what the profession means to him, what it meant to his father, who was also a butler, and why he holds dignity as like the highest trait that you can possibly possess. But it also borders on like him lacking his own voice and opinions, and considering like his whole purpose in life is to serve someone else who also has their own thoughts and their own opinions. This is an absolutely wonderful book, and I wished, like when I got to the end, I wished it was just so much longer because I could have stayed in that just like quiet remembrance for so much longer. Now, before we get into the top 3, let's list just a few honorable mentions. I'm gonna go through these really quickly, like I'm not gonna cover synopsis or anything because I don't wanna make this video super long, but don't forget there will be links in the description as well for these books and the videos in which I talked about them more fully. So these books are ones that I really enjoyed and I wanted to give a shout out to. I wanted to recommend them, but they just didn't end up making the list. These are The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ware, Heaven by Mieko Kawakami and translated by Sam Bett and David Boyd. Leviathan Wakes, and just like the Expanse series in general, by James S.A. Corey. I am only in the third one, so I guess I can really only recommend the first two that I read this year, but still. The Decagon House Murders by Yukito Ayatsuji and translated by Ho-Ling Wong. If you are somebody that is like really into murder mysteries in general, especially if you really like Agatha Christie and these like classics, this is a really cool one to read that really shows a love of that, but then also is doing something new and is really hard to guess where it's gonna go. Then of course we have The Seven Moons of Mali Almeida by Shian Karunatalaka. Fantastic book. Another prize winner this year is The Rabbit Hutch by Tess Gunty. That was really good. And then we've got Earthlings by Sayaka Murata and translated by Ginny Tapley Takamori. And a collection of short stories I really liked, Happy Stories mostly, by Norman Erickson Pasaribu and translated by Tiffany Tsao. All wonderful books that I really enjoyed. So if you've been thinking about reading any of these, I definitely recommend doing so, or just checking out and looking into them further to see if there's something that you'll like. So in third place, earning that bronze metaphorical medal, is Venomous Lumpsucker. Can we just talk about how wonderful this book is? Oh, by Ned Bowman. I didn't even say. I need more people talking about this book because I loved it so much and not enough people are talking about it. This book follows a biologist a bit into the future in a world that has gotten like really chill about animals going extinct because they are able to like create life using the DNA of past animals, past as in the past, but also as in like dead. So they feel like less worried about losing a species when they know that they can recreate them. And then this has led to like this process in which some companies, if they want to do something like mine or put like a new large complex or something that is going to really like disrupt the environment around it, if that could possibly lead in the extinction of a species, then they have to have a biologist come in and evaluate the species for intelligence. And if the species is deemed as being like too intelligent, then the company can't move forward. So that's our protagonist's job. At the start of the book, she is evaluating the venomous lumpsucker, which leads her to going to many different places, along with a man that has seemingly very different values to her own, and is also interested in like the same information that she is, but for very different reasons. So plot-wise, it's a lot of fun, but I think that this book really stands out for the world building and how things work between like corporations and the natural world, and then it explores this thought of what it means to be intelligent as a species and things like that. It's really wonderful. And then in second place, we have Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. I started this book a really long time ago, like an embarrassingly long time ago, and I only just finished it, but it was so wonderful, and now I like miss not being in the middle of it anymore. There's a second one, so I can continue, but still. So this book covers the history of all of humankind. This includes the evolution of our bodies, of communities, societies, currencies, languages, technologies. I know there's more. Social structures, religions, just like everything.
This place has everything.
I learned so much from reading this book, and it made me look at the world in a different way, at myself in a different way, and like literally just everything. It made me look at everything in a different way. You get like the sense of being one small piece of something so much larger, but with that comes like this freedom of being yourself and enjoying the things that you enjoy and working for things that you believe are right. It's wonderful. I can't say enough nice things about it. And it all comes down to this. What will my first place book be? Oh, come on. You know it. I know it. Elena knows it. No, wait, again, that's just the name of the book. It's Elena Knows by Claudia Pinedo and translated by Frances Riddle. I loved this book so much. It was heavy on my heart for so much of it, and it does not hold back as it explores the mother-daughter relationship that is very complex. That's at the center of this book. It's about Elena, who is an older woman with Parkinson's disease, and her daughter who has just passed away by hanging in the church. But Elena is convinced that her daughter didn't take her own life and was instead murdered, despite what it looks like to you as the reader and also like everybody else. And you slowly learn about what Elena's life was like with her daughter through flashbacks that she has as she's searching for answers surrounding her daughter's death. There are so many thoughts that I have on this one, but I do have a full video about it, so I'm just gonna direct you there. But yeah, easy top spot for me this year. I'm also super excited that Jill from the Book Bully is reading it this year as a part of our TBR Spin challenge. So if if you don't know, just like a quick little plug for it, Jill and I are doing a like reading challenge, readathon, whatever you want to call it, where basically you pick 12 books at the beginning of the year, one to read each month, and every month we will spin a wheel that will give us a prompt that will lead you to one of those books. There's a few other rules than that to it, but if you want to know about those, then check out the video that we did on it, and then also the first spin is in that, so January's prompt is in it as well. Or if you want to wait till February to join in, just pick 11 books and start then. That's totally fine too. Okay, I'm done doing my plug. Oh, but also if you are taking part, if you post your stack on like Instagram or something, please do tag us. I love seeing them and sharing them out. It's so cool for us to see people like taking part in this. Anyways, there you have it. Another year of truly excellent books. So please let me know what your favorites of 2022 were, and consider subscribing if you want to see the other side of my reading this year, as next week I'm going to be posting a video about my worst books of the year, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that one. So I hope to see you there. Bye.